For years, you've been watching my channel and listening and learning from me. It's time for you to hear from someone else and to learn from the wisdom of a truly experienced pro in the world of sales. Stay tuned. Debbie is a digital sales veteran with more than 20 years of experience. She's currently employed at GumGum as a sales director based in San Francisco. Her diversified digital advertising experience includes helping to launch several disruptive first-to-market digital solutions, including a stint at Double Verify, which was the first verification provider. Prior to that, she represented direct publishers, including IDG, CMP, and the San Jose Mercury News. And that was when I had the good fortune of meeting Debbie for the first time. So Debbie, I am so excited to have you with us today on this video interview. You are the first person I'm interviewing for the channel because I have always truly respected you as a professional in sales. And I know that the viewers of our channel are going to be able to learn a lot from the answers to the questions that I pose to you. So thank you very much for being with me.
It's an honor. Thank you, Mike.
Cool. Well, let me ask you the first question. I'm just going to go all the way back to the beginning of your sales career. Debbie, tell us about your first sales job.
Well, my first advertising sales job, not including my first sales job selling Girl Scout cookies.
Yeah, not going back that far.
Yeah, was at the Spartan Daily, the school newspaper at San Jose State. Back in the day, it was a requirement that you had to sell space for the school newspaper if you were an advertising major. So that was a pretty daunting, scary thing for me. In fact, I did everything to avoid taking this course until my senior year. That's how dreadful I thought it would be.
And so I guess it actually went pretty well because you ended up choosing sales as a career after that. Like, why did you choose sales?
Exactly. I owe everything to the Spartan Daily. I discovered that my truest joy was helping people and just meeting with these small mom and pops and transforming their yellow page ads, using clip art and applying, basic 101 advertising principles like a call to action, a benefit in the headline. All of these things helped drive more business for these small companies. So Wilbur at the hairdresser, he couldn't believe the response when he had a $1 off coupon. And all of these students, were calling him for hair appointments, and the pizzeria where they were having a coupon that was good only on the days where their business was slow. I mean, it was truly a fun thing for me.
And so it wasn't so much about the money that you could earn but more about the benefit that you could bring to other businesses.
Yeah, definitely.
What about the independence? Did you like the independence of sales?
I love the independence. I'm kind of, you're your own brand, and you're like, everything is under your control, including, your financial destiny. So the harder you work, the more money you make.
Yeah.
So, simple math.
So that's part of the reason that I like sales too.
Yeah.
So Debbie, what were some of the key lessons that you learned as you worked your way through those first few years?
Well, I mean, there are the, simple sales 101 practices that apply everywhere. And that is, being responsive, coming to your meeting prepared, things like that. But the biggest lesson that I think I learned early on is having that discovery period where you are just asking questions and learning as much as you can about that person's pain points. And then tying that into what are the solutions that you can offer that help solve those problems. So that's very, very key.
Absolutely. And I think that one of the things that I've learned from you is to really focus on the other party. That it's less about you and more about the other party. And I know that the viewers are going to get more from that as they go through this interview. So I don't want to spoil it. What do you think are the secrets to your success in sales?
Well, there are a few, and one of the biggest things that I really believe in is that you want to be more than a sales partner.
Hmm.
You want to be there for your clients, you know, for things that maybe not be relevant to the bottom line for you. But for instance, during this period that we're going through right now, a lot of my clients have lost their jobs. And one thing that I've done throughout my career is, I'm the one who's feet on the street and I'm meeting with all of these advertisers. I, I can ask a simple question, are you hiring? And then tee up introductions. And nothing makes me happier than to tee up an introduction and to find somebody a job. And that happened just recently, a few months ago, for somebody who was recently laid off from a major agency. And he wanted to move to LA. So I was able to find, this person that I have a good relationship with, teed up the introduction, and he got hired. And he's working on a major brand now. The other thing that I love to do is, sometimes agencies will lose accounts. And so I have, access to a lot of clients, and I can ask them if they're looking for a new agency and tee up introductions that way as well. So that's really something that I get a lot of reward from. The other thing that I think is really important for salespeople to do is, like, we all get proposals that have deadlines.
Right.
And the vast majority of salespeople will submit their proposal on deadline, God forbid, sometimes after deadline. But I have always made it a practice to present my proposal at least 24 hours in advance. And the reason why, it seems so simple, but your clients will have more time to dedicate to reading your proposal and are more likely to take a meeting with you to review the proposal, because that period is kind of like the calm before the storm. So this is something that has been very helpful for me. The other thing that I think is really important, and this is really 101, but being a resource, sending your clients articles that are relevant to their business. And it could be something so simple as, early on during COVID, United Airlines sent me an email touting their new cleaning protocols, and they were teaming up with Clorox as the trusted brand for cleanliness.
Mm-hmm.
So I forwarded the email to my client at Clorox and just said, congratulations, like, this is amazing. And they were so touched that I sent that email. So it's little things like that.
These are little things to you, Debbie, but I see these as big things that I just want to recap a couple of the things that you've said, because they're so important. That one is to not think about yourself so much, that sometimes people get into their own heads through most of the day, actually. And in sales, you want to make the sale, of course. However, thinking of yourself as a resource, thinking of the other person, going beyond the sale to try and help them in other aspects of their professional life, get a new account, help someone to get a job, show them that you're thinking about them by sharing articles that you've seen. I mean, these are all ways that don't necessarily make the sale, but make the relationship. And I think that's what has helped you to be a long-term success in sales, is thinking long-term and caring about the other person. That's what I'm getting from this, which I think is huge.
Yeah. And another thing is that, we're all going through this together, and it's not easy. People are getting Zoom fatigue. It's hard to engage people over Zoom. And so what I've found that, makes it a lot easier is I like to have a fun quiz or a game, or I'll send out, like, yesterday was National Coffee Day. So I sent out an email with all these fun facts about coffee.
The other thing that you do that's really great is that you're just fun. You're fun to do business with.
I try to be, because, you got to have fun, and advertising is fun. It's supposed to be fun, right?
Right. Right. So I think that's great. Now, I want to revisit a point that you made. Are you saying that with that idea of sending the proposal a day before the deadline, that you have actually sometimes gotten meetings even before the deadline?
Oh, absolutely. Happens all the
Wow.
time.
That's a really great
Absolutely.
idea, because a
Yeah.
lot of people, I think, work towards the deadline and are relieved when they meet the deadline. As you said, God forbid, some people would actually miss it. but they're so frantically making last minute changes and trying to get it in under the wire, and they're missing the boat completely from veterans like you who already submitted it the day before and are meeting with people, moving that potential deal forward. So
Yeah.
that's a big tip. Thank you so much for sharing that with us, Debbie.
Yeah, sure.
Do you recall a story from your career that just makes you laugh now, looking back at it?
I have a lot of funny stories.
I bet.
So, but probably my most like funny story is during the time when I was at Double Verify. And I was on the ground floor, so we were evangelizing brand safety. And what this meant is that I had to oftentimes look at screenshots or look at sites that were not the nicest sites, and discovering major brands running on these types of sites. Well, one day, my husband and my son, I think my son was in the 5th grade, we were in an antique store in Half Moon Bay, and there's this fairly large portrait of a nudist. And my son comes running up to me, Mommy, come here, you got to see this. He's like, look, that's what you look at all day on your computer. And it's like, oh my God, all these people were looking at me, and I was like so embarrassed. But yeah, how to
Wow.
explain to your son, no, that's not what I do all day.
But it was kind of what you had to do in that job.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So, so now let me get back to some of the lessons that people can gain from this. Of course, we have learned that you got to have fun. You got to have fun in your work. But
Yeah.
what are some of the mistakes that you see junior salespeople make? Because you've seen a lot of new people enter the profession, and I know you've mentored junior salespeople throughout your career. Please help some of the junior salespeople watching this video.
I think that one of the most important things is to prepare for your meeting. And a lot of people think that they can just show up, but it doesn't work that way, especially when you're meeting with a client like Microsoft or HP. You only get one shot. And it's important that you understand their business, who their competitors are. If you're meeting with a high-tech company, you want to make sure that you understand, are they a B2B solution or B2C? I have heard from many of my agency clients that so many reps show up to a meeting and they don't even know what accounts they work on. The other thing is that when you do your homework, you also want to come prepared with a polished deck. And even if that means that, hey, you've got their logo on it, or you call out who you're meeting with on the cover, but having your solutions relevant to their products or solutions, that's what you need to do. A lot of people just use a one size fits all like presentation and ask the same questions, but it's very important to take that extra time.
This whole idea of doing your homework, I swear in many of the sales trainings that I've done with people, I've tried to express that to them, that I really think it's important that you do your research, do your homework, prepare. And that's what you're saying now, is that you're just seeing that junior salespeople are winging some opportunities and then wondering why they didn't get the deal.
And you know what, you only get one shot. So you're not going to get invited back to a meeting or to meet with a greater team if you don't come across as being like a consultant. The other thing is that I always try to make their time, valuable, in terms of taking that time to meet with me. I don't want to waste their time. People are busy.
Right.
And that is so important. Like, you want to teach them something new or give them something that perhaps they had never even thought of before. So that's where you can add value.
And the last time that we talked, Debbie, about sales, because we've talked about sales many times over the years, I remember that another one of the mistakes that some salespeople make is that not only are they not so prepared, but they talk too much. What do you think about that?
Yes, in fact, I've seen this happen not only with junior salespeople, but some of the managers that I've reported to, where they just go into a meeting and they just start spewing out all this information about me, without even asking a single question about the needs of the customer. So, really, a good ratio, I think, is that you should at least have 25% of your meeting where the client is talking and not you. And gosh, if you have them speaking the majority of the time, even better, because you can always come back with a tailored solution once you have a better understanding of what they're trying to achieve.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you actually said you think the client should be talking 25% of the time, but I think you mean the client should be talking 75% of the time.
It can be anywhere from 25 to 75% of the time. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
Okay. So there are a lot of mistakes that salespeople make, and we've both learned over the years not to make them. I hope that by watching this, that they have figured some of that out, and will stop making those mistakes going forward and be more successful faster. Another way to get successful faster is to read books, attend classes, listen to videos or like this, or watch videos. What other resources do you recommend, Debbie, that can help salespeople? And they don't have to be sales related resources.
I have a full library of books. I love reading, and I have a lot of sales related books, of course. But the one book that I always go back to, which is, I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but it's called The Secret. And it's something that I truly believe in. And even before the book came out, one of my really good friends told me the power of visualization and affirmations and the importance of writing lists of what you envision for yourself. And so I maintained a list. Like, this goes back to even before I was married, making a list of, my future husband and the attributes that I wanted, in my perfect husband. So, but I have a list that I update every few months, and it includes both personal and business related affirmations. But one thing that is very important is that you need to be specific. So it can't just say, I'm going to achieve my goals. My list says, I've achieved my goals, as if it's already happened. Mm-hmm. And I was X amount above my goal. And here are the new accounts that I landed. When I first started at GumGum, one of the things on my list was that I was going to close $1 million plus new account. And I wrote it down to who the client was, and as if, I just, signed or got the signed IO, and it came true. So
this is something that I definitely want to emphasize, in that you're being very specific. You're not just having vague goals. It reminds me of the story of Jim Carrey when he was still early on in entertainment, and he wrote himself a check for $1 million, and he would carry it around, and eventually that check could be cashed. Now, the fact that you decided that you wanted to close specifically a $1 million account, right? It's being very specific. It's ambitious. And something that I want to emphasize that I didn't say in your introduction, but I know about you, is that you often exceed your goals, like well past what is expected of you. And that's because you never accept what someone else will set for you as a goal, but you always want to set your own goals that are bigger than what other people expect.
Yes, exactly. There's another book that I wanted to mention. It's called Grit. I don't know if you've heard of it, by Angela Duckworth.
I love that book, actually.
It talks about the outliers. So if you want to be an average sales rep, don't read it. So it talks about setting the bar high. And, it's about, and I'm sure you can relate to this, Mike, the kids who are finalists in the spelling bee, and how do they get there? What does it take? So besides passion and hours of practicing, like they say, an average of 10,000 hours to really perfect a skill. Mm-hmm. So it's a fascinating book.
It's a really good book. And what I really got from it is that effort counts twice, that there are many people who have talent, and they sometimes rely and rest on that talent a little too much. Like a person who feels like they're somewhat naturally inclined to sales, they may have some natural charisma, they communicate well, they are personable. And so they may feel like, I can do this thing. I can do this thing in sales. I don't have to work as hard because it comes naturally to me. And what Angela dispels in that book is the myth that talent alone is enough to get you to those lofty goals that you set. You have to make the effort, and effort actually counts twice.
Yeah.
So Debbie, that basically wraps up our interview. And I am so grateful because you have really shared so many valuable lessons and mistakes to avoid and some secrets that you wouldn't catch anywhere else except by listening to this interview. So for those of you that watch this, I highly recommend that you take notes and even listen to it again and be really perceptive and think about what you can do differently compared to what Debbie does, because Debbie is a sales veteran with a long track record of success. And she shared some secrets with you today that you should start applying right away to be more successful in your work. So Debbie, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Mike.